Association track. He had a lovely home right down the street. There is now a garden, a memorial art garden in his name. And from that book, from Pelham, we learned not just about Isaac, but we started digging deeper and deeper and deeper into the history of African American horsemen. Not just jockeys, not just trainers, but also the farriers, the grooms, and all the handlers and owners, and all of the people whose names were not represented in the photographs. We formed Phoenix Rising to recognize African American horsemen and to tell their stories. And we started with, obviously, the low-hanging fruit, the famous Black African American jockeys. But the story goes on wider and deeper, and we wanted to tell those stories as well. It's probably not well known that just in the community of the east end of Lexington, we have 4 African American horsemen who are honored in the National Museum Hall of Fame. They all live within blocks of each other. We have Isaac Murphy, Jimmy Wingfield, pictured over here, 2 consecutive Kentucky Derby wins. Ansel Williamson, who is the trainer of the first Kentucky Derby winner, and Ed Brown, who was also an owner, breeder, trainer, and formerly a jockey. So right here in this community, we have 4 historic figures who lived and worked here, and they worked at the Kentucky Association track. The historic track that was formed, the organization was formed in 1826, the track was built in 1828, and it finally closed in 1933. More than 100 years, this was one of the foremost racetracks in the United States. Significant races that are still run today were inaugurated at the Kentucky Association track. The Bluegrass Stakes, the Derby Prep, the Ashland Stakes, the Kentucky Oaks Prep, the Phoenix Stakes, which is the oldest stakes race in America. Not consecutively run, but it is the oldest stakes. And it is from the Phoenix Stakes that Phoenix Rising takes its name, trying to raise up the history that has been long forgotten. So every year we hold an event where we honor African American horsemen, and to date we have honored almost 30 individuals, some very well known like Oliver Lewis, some not so well known, at least they weren't at that time, but are now gaining recognition, and many of them were featured in the Heart of the Turf exhibit that was curated by Rhoda and recently at the Keeneland Library. As an award for that honor, LaVon Williams, a local artist, designed unique plaques for each individual. Some of them are on display here today. An original piece of art for each honoree. And the biography of that honoree is included in a booklet that is organized and published by Phoenix Rising. So this is a very historical place. Some people, when I worked at Keeneland, I became keenly aware, as I looked at photos, that there were so many pictures of horses in a winner's circle. The jockey was named, the trainer was named, the owner was named, the horse was named, but the groom, no name. Over and over and over again, I looked at these pictures, and it made me heartsick that probably the person that was closest to the horse, that took care of these expensive, unique, exquisite animals, day in and day out, did not have a name. And with that inspiration, that was part of the reason for forming something like Phoenix Rising, to put names on those pictures, to honor those individuals, to lift them up and ask that you all recognize them as well. So I'm a little bit passionate about Phoenix Rising. I'm very passionate about the history of this East End. Pillow McDaniels, to harken back to that biography, a biographer, Isaac Murphy, said there are endless dissertations to be told about the history of the East End. There are so many different stories, and many of them were unknown to us until Yvonne Giles, Ann Butler, and their cohort discovered them in the African Cemetery No. 2. It's a very closed circuit of information. The more that we learn, the more we find out. There's so much more, as Mrs. Giles said, to even learn about Oliver Lewis. And we're going to. Okay, let's get on with it.